In the world of modern air travel where technology reigns supreme, it's a sobering truth that many aviation disasters stem from human error. Among the most prevalent of these errors is miscommunication. Even a single mistake made by just one person can lead to catastrophic consequences. Today, we explore some of the deadliest air disasters caused by miscommunication. Avianca Flight 52. On January 25, 1990, Avianca Flight 52 was en route from Bogota, Colombia to New York with 149 passengers on board. However, bad weather and air traffic congestion forced the Boeing 707 into a holding pattern over the coast near New York. After circling for nearly an hour and a half, the aircraft was running dangerously low on fuel. When Flight 52 finally reached Kennedy Airport, only one runway was open due to fog and wind, causing further delays. Additionally, the aircraft ahead of Flight 52 failed to touch down, exacerbating the fuel situation. Two critical miscommunications played a pivotal role in the ensuing disaster, as the aircraft was handed off from regional to local air traffic controllers. The local controllers were not informed of the aircraft's low fuel status. Furthermore, the crew failed to explicitly declare a fuel emergency to the local controllers, which would have indicated the imminent danger. As a result, after missing its initial landing attempt, Flight 52 was given a landing pattern that it did not have enough fuel to complete. As the crew tried to maneuver the plane, its engines failed one by one. The Boeing 707 crashed into the village of Cove Neck, Long Island, claiming the lives of 65 passengers and 8 crew members, with only one crew member surviving. Air Florida Flight 90. On January 13, 1982, Air Florida Flight 90 was scheduled to fly from Washington National Airport to Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport with a layover in Tampa. Due to snowy conditions, the aircraft was not properly de-iced and its engine anti-icing system was not activated. This led to the freezing and failure of instruments, which resulted in incorrect readings. Despite the cabin crew believing they had applied sufficient throttle for takeoff, the aircraft did not have enough power. The Boeing 737's takeoff roll was nearly half a mile, 800 meters longer than normal. During the takeoff, the first officer noticed instrument issues indicating the aircraft was not capable of becoming airborne. However, the captain disregarded these concerns and proceeded with the takeoff. The aircraft crashed into the 14th Street Bridge, claiming the lives of 78 people, including 4 motorists. Subsequent investigations revealed that there was ample space to abort the takeoff if the flight crew had communicated better. Singapore Airlines Flight 006. On October 31, 2000, Singapore Airlines Flight 006 was scheduled to fly from Singapore to Los Angeles via Taipei. However, the flight met a tragic end due to a series of miscommunications and errors. As the Boeing 747 taxied for takeoff in stormy weather with low visibility from heavy rain, the crew inadvertently steered onto runway 05R, which was closed for repairs. The runway was cluttered with excavators, concrete barriers, and a small bulldozer, all obscured by the weather conditions. Despite a report issued 2 months prior indicating the closure of the runway, the pilots were unaware and began takeoff procedures on the closed runway. During the attempted takeoff, the aircraft collided with the heavy equipment, causing it to break apart. The impact resulted in a fire fueled by the ignited fuel in the wings, leading to the deaths of 83 of the 179 people on board, including 4 crew members. This tragic accident underscores the critical importance of clear communication and thorough pre-flight checks in aviation safety. Linate Airport Disaster. On October 8, 2001, Linate Airport in Milan, Italy was the site of a tragic collision resulting from miscommunication and adverse weather conditions. Thick fog reduced visibility to around 656 feet, complicating operations at the airport, which was already experiencing high traffic volume. A Cessna Citation CG-2 business jet cleared to taxi to its takeoff point on a route away from the main runway. runway, misinterpreted instructions due to poor radio communications and inadequate markings. As a result, the Cessna accidentally crossed the main runway and entered the path of Scandinavian Airlines Flight 686, a McDonnell Douglas MD-87 airliner, traveling at about 170 miles per hour. The collision ignited a fire on the Cessna and damaged the right engine of the MD-87. Despite the impact, the pilot of Flight 686, Joachim Gustafsson, skillfully managed to briefly get the aircraft airborne. However, while attempting to regain control, he engaged the thrust reverser and brakes, a maneuver noted for its skillfulness. Unfortunately, Gustafsson was unable to maintain control, and the MD-87 crashed into a luggage hangar at the end of the runway. Tragically, 118 people lost their lives in the disaster, highlighting the critical importance of clear communication and adherence to safety protocols, especially in challenging weather conditions. PSA Flight 182 on September 25, 1978. Pacific Southwest Airlines Flight 182 was en route from Sacramento to San Diego when tragedy struck in the skies above. In the vicinity, a flight instructor was conducting a lesson with a student in a private Cessna aircraft. The Cessna made an unauthorized change of course, placing it on a collision course with a much larger Boeing 727. Initially, both pilots managed to avoid each other, but communication between the crew of Flight 182 and air traffic control sounded nervous prior to the crash. During the transmissions between air traffic control and Flight 182, a critical misunderstanding occurred. The word passed was misheard as passing, leading controllers to believe that the flight crew was aware of the Cessna's location, when in fact they had lost sight of it. Less than 2 minutes after the misunderstood transmission, the Cessna collided with the bottom of the Flight 182's right wing. The impact caused the Cessna to break apart, and the Boeing 727's right wing was severely damaged. Both aircraft plummeted into a neighborhood in San Diego, resulting in the tragic loss of all 135 individuals on board Flight 182, 7 individuals on the ground, and both occupants of the Cessna. Witnesses at the crash site reported scenes of utter carnage with blood and body parts strewn across the area. It's believed that if the crew of Flight 182 had managed to clearly communicate to air traffic control that they had lost sight of the smaller plane, California's deadliest aircraft disaster might have been averted. American Airlines Flight 965. On December 20, 1995, American Airlines Flight 965 was en route from Miami to Cali, Colombia, carrying 163 passengers and crew. However, tragedy struck during the approach to Cali's airport due to a series of miscommunications and errors. As the flight neared Cali, the crew accidentally erased the waypoints necessary for navigation to the airport. This mistake was compounded by 2 critical miscommunications. First, the captain mistakenly entered the first R on the list of available waypoints, directing the plane toward Bogota through a valley that led to mountainous terrain. Additionally, the air traffic controller at Cali, Nelson Ramirez, sensed that something was amiss but was unable to communicate effectively in English to correct the plane's course. Despite the flight crew's last-minute efforts to avoid collision, Flight 965 collided with the 9,800-foot mountain. The crash claimed the lives of 159 people on board, with only 4 survivors, initially 5, all seated within 2 rows of each other. Remarkably, a dog was also rescued from the wreckage. Garuda, Indonesia Flight 152. On September 26, 1997, Garuda Indonesia Airlines Flight 152 was en route from Jakarta to Medan when it tragically crashed during its final approach. The flight, carrying 234 individuals, faced poor visibility caused by forest fires raging below. As the aircraft approached Medan Airport, the pilot contacted the airport for assistance due to the challenging conditions conditions. However, confusion arose as 3 planes including Flight 152 were waiting to land at the airport, with 2 of them sharing the same flight number. Amidst this confusion, air traffic control allegedly directed Garuda Flight 152 off its intended course. The critical factor in the disaster, however, was a significant breakdown in communication between the pilot and the airport. Shortly before the Airbus A300 was scheduled to land, air traffic control instructed the pilot to turn right instead of left. This instruction was misunderstood, leading to a fatal mix-up. The aircraft veered off course and crashed into mountainous terrain, claiming the lives of all 234 individuals on board. Chillingly, 1 minute after the incorrect turn, the pilot's screams were heard over the radio. Charkhi Dadri mid-air collision. The Charkhi Dadri mid-air collision on November 12, 1996 stands as the deadliest mid-air crash in aviation history. Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907 collided with Saudi Arabian Airlines Flight 763 at an altitude of almost 14,000 feet, resulting in the tragic loss of all 349 people on board both aircraft. The root cause of this catastrophe can be attributed to communication challenges within the Kazakhstani plane. Except for the radio operator, none of the Kazakhstani flight crew understood English, relying entirely on him to communicate with air traffic control. Additionally, the radio operator lacked his own set of instruments and had to depend on the pilots for crucial information such as the aircraft's altitude. As Flight 1907 encountered turbulence within a cloud bank, it descended more than 1,000 feet below its assigned altitude of 15,000 feet. The radio operator noticed the descent and instructed the crew to ascend, unintentionally placing them directly in the path of the Saudi Arabian Boeing 747. The collision severely damaged the left wing and stabilizer of the Saudi Arabian aircraft, causing it to spiral towards the ground and disintegrate upon impact. Flight 1907 crashed into a field, resulting in 4 survivors from the Kazakhstani plane. Unfortunately, all 4 succumbed to their injuries shortly after being rescued. The stories of these air disasters are not just about tragic events. They are also cautionary tales that remind us of the critical importance of clear communication, proper procedures, and meticulous attention to detail in aviation safety. As we reflect on these events, let us honor the memories of those who lost their lives by ensuring that their stories serve as lessons for the future of air travel. Thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to stay updated with our latest videos. And I'll see you in the next video.